Well, hello again and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast, the show for the fans and by the fans. We're here on a lovely sunny Wednesday evening in Carbank Park. Thank you very much for joining us last week, and thank you once again for joining us, if you well are, this week again. This is the only show on the internet dedicated 100% to Mansfield Town FC. Probably. With me once again, I've got to my left Mr. Mark Plum. Good evening. Good morning, whenever people are listening to this. I don't even know why I said that. To my right as well, to my immediate right is Mr. Cam Felton.
Hello.
And to my far right as well, Mr. Nathan Taps Edge.
Good day.
No one's going to get the Taps reference at all.
No, we can't really explain it.
And we can't explain it without getting sued, but there you go. I don't know why I said it, but there you go. But what a week it's been since our last podcast in a rain-filled Titchfield Park. Of course, Mansfield kick-started their Sky Bet League 2 season with a 2-2 draw at Crewe Alexandra, and then last night crashed out of the Carabao Cup 1-0 to Rochdale. 2 games really, boys, where Mansfield actually were on top and were very, very unfortunate not to come away with 3 points and to progress through to the second round.
I think we were unlucky last night. A lot of the time there was a lot of errors down to conditions, and I think it was just a really rough, scrappy game. Rochdale goal just pretty much coming out of nothing, absolutely beautiful, curling top straight into the top corner, leaving Olejnik no chance. And you know what, we were the better team in that game. And I think looking back at Crewe, well, what can you say about that performance?
Yeah, definitely. And Mark, one thing which sort of stood out for me from the last couple of games is defending from corners. We saw it last night against Rochdale. If you don't close a ball down from a corner, you're going to get punished.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, it's just the basics, isn't it? We've not sorted that at all. But again, I mean, last night's game, I mean, we played against the League One side who, you know, by all accounts, we could have easily won the game. You know, we created that many chances in the game, and, you know, it's just, again, we're causing our own mistakes.
We've got to start cutting these out. Nathan, obviously, you were away on international duty on Saturday, but your dad was reporting back to you. What was sort of his thoughts on the game, and you know, what conclusions have you drawn from what you've been reading?
Well, to be honest, I had the commentary on quietly when I was on the bench at that point as well. So
wait a minute, right? Let's get this right. You were making a cap for England in the blind. It was the full England side as well, wasn't it?
No, yeah, it was a mixture of England and reserve, so it wasn't technically my first cap at that point. So this is why I could get away.
It was your first as well. I thought you played one before that. So let's get this right. Nathan Edge on potentially England's debut was on the bench listening to a Mansfield Town game.
Yeah, well, it was the first day of the season. You know, I can't miss Crewe away, can I? On the first day of the season. I could have been there in person, so I've at least got to listen to it. So I did have a sneaky. I had the iFollow on my phone, sneakily listened to it. You know, whilst I was on the bench. So I managed to get some of the action before I went on. I tried to beg the manager not to put me on yet, but I had to go on. But
at what point did you decide that it was fun for you listening to
it was the second half. I missed a lot of the second half, which actually, by the sounds of it, was our best half as well. But you know, I have had a catch up of all the reports, and obviously I've popped on the highlights and tried to gather especially what I missed in that second half. And it did sound like we were very unlucky. I mean, sounds like their goal came against a run of play. I mean, obviously correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's what the sort of gist of it I was getting. And like you keep saying about the mistakes we've made, in some ways I'd rather us make these mistakes now. Obviously we still got a draw at Crewe, which if we make mistakes and getting a draw away from home, I'll take that. And then the cup, I don't really care that we're out of the cup. I mean, it'd been nice if we did get through the second round and we got a good tie, but I'd rather us focus on this league. Let's have a good run in the FA Cup, that's the main cup, and go from there. So I don't really mind that we're out.
An interesting point that you bring up there, which we'll come on to very, very shortly indeed, but first it's the sort of the start of the podcast, so we have to do the connection question, which is one of our features each week. I'm not even going to ask Cam because I've realised that I've printed out the question and all the wording for it, and he's sat next to me and he's looking directly at the answer, and I think Mark's probably done the same as well.
I've not seen it.
You're being honest there.
I've not seen it.
There you go. Okay, so last week obviously we explained what the connection question is. It's basically a part of the show where I ask you guys a question which is related loosely to the next upcoming fixture. At the end of the show I reveal what the answer is and people at home guess if they want to, that's pretty much it really. It's self-explanatory. This week's question then: which thrice Mansfield Town defender captained Forest Green Rovers on the opening day of the 2010-2011 season against the Stags at the One Call Stadium after being surprisingly released by then Stags boss David Holdsworth, only to go on and return 2 seasons later to help us win the football conference? Nathan, do you think you know the answer without saying who it is?
Potentially.
Cam, I know you know the answer, but if you hadn't have looked at the sheet, would you have known who it is?
Yeah, I would.
And Mark?
Yeah, I've got a fair idea.
Okay, so we'll leave that one lingering in the air like the smell of stale Bovril, and potential pouring rain last night. Now,
Yeah, my Bovril was nice last night.
well, let's talk about your Bovril, but let's not talk about the tea at Alfred. That's another story entirely. It looked like sludge, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to see tea like that. An absolute disgrace of tea making. One thing which wasn't a disgrace though, last night, and in general actually, and I want to bring particular praise to him, is Stags groundsman Mez. He's done a fantastic job on the pitch, and last night, God bless him, he must have painted the lines on that pitch about 40,000 times. Anyone else notice?
Well, it was a bit crazy because you looked at the pitch at half time, it was just a green patch. There was barely any lines on it. There was just these two random goal mouths, and it was, you went over them with the lines, but 10 minutes later they were nearly gone, and I thought, you know what's the point? You look at it and it just got worse and worse, and I'm really surprised that we actually made it through that game.
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
it says a lot, though, doesn't it, to the Radfords as well, because they obviously put a lot of money into that pitch. You know, he's put about £100,000 to go onto the pitch. A lot of games, like the likes of Grimsby got called off, didn't they, last night? I think it just goes to show that investment has obviously worked, because it did held up, didn't it?
is that going to make the difference at the end of the season? You know, we've been in positions so many times, especially in the conference, where it comes to October, November, December, when the rain's hammering it down on a Tuesday night, you're getting frozen pitches, you're getting games postponed, then you've got a backlog. Is the fact that the Radford family have made such an investment into the pitch going to help us over the line in League 2 this season, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the style of play we're playing as well is going to be a massive thing as well. So, I mean, you've got to say it's going to be one of the top pitches in League 2. I mean, like I say, the money that's been spent on it and that, it's going to really look good, you know, in all conditions. So
It certainly did.
good to be prepared.
Did anyone else want us to score late on last night and just see a player sort of get on the back and slide all the way down the pitch?
I can't remember who it was, but I think it was Mal Benning.
It was
Crunching
Benning,
tackle.
yeah,
He
yeah.
must have slid about 10 yards further down the pitch. It looked great because there's just this massive
I like that, actually.
streak in the grass. Where it just, it was
I can tell you
crazy.
who would have been fantastic last night in that game, Jamie Maguire.
Jam would have loved that game last
just
He
night.
definitely made a splash, wouldn't he?
That's it, podcast over.
We're done, go on.
Let's stop it right there. Let's move obviously back to talking about the Crewe game and the Rochdale game. Of course, we were talking a little bit about defending corners. We were talking about being caught actually on the counter attack a little bit. And I think that's true. I think one thing which highlighted for me, certainly reflecting on both games afterwards, was the fact that even though we sort of went a goal down twice against Crewe, we fought back. We went a goal down last night against a good strong Rochdale side. We fought back and we didn't stop fighting back into the final minute. One thing we wouldn't have done in previous seasons is have that fight.
No.
See, it's the commitment to the players that they're actually wanting to push forward. We've not had a team that in the last few seasons that would actually just keep chasing the game. Before we'd go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, whatever the score would be, and we'd just roll over to whoever we were playing against. And I think one game that puts that into perspective was Portsmouth away last season. Obviously Adam Murray's last game, but just the comparison between that team and the team that we've got now, we went 1-0 down, 2-0 down. The game just ran away from us. We never really looked like getting another chance at it. But Crewe 1-0 down against them, good side. Got to say they were a fantastic team. Nobody were expecting that, but we fought back and we were strong. Yeah, there was a couple of mistakes and there was bits of the play that we need to improve on, but just as a general, I think we have got the team that could possibly take us up this season with the players that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Crewe was a tough place, as you say, and a lot of teams will struggle going there, you know, and to get a point away from home anyway is a good. So, you know, to go a goal down, and you know, we've got that in the locker now where we can come back and, you know, turn the game on its head now. So it's fantastic. We've got that.
One thing I do think will happen though throughout the season, I genuinely do feel it very nearly happened at Crewe. We are probably going to lose a couple of matches to late goals, and they're never nice to take, are they? They're horrible to take. But at the same hand, I think we're probably going to go and win some with late goals as well. So I think what we can say is, although we're going to get those down moments where we do concede those late goals from counter-attacks, etc., I think one thing we can be assured that we're going to get is some excitement this year.
Steve Evans compared this season to a long train journey and talked about picking up bags of coal, and I think opening weekends, you'd have, even before we kicked off, you'd have taken one bag of coal, so to speak, wouldn't you?
Yeah, point on the ball, isn't it? You know, so we've not lost the game, and I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, it's only a point, but I mean, a point away from home, first game of the season, it's something to build on.
But yeah, a point's better than a loss, but even a loss at this early stage, in the long run, I don't think it's going to affect many teams that much. You look at...
Is League Two going to be as open as it was last year?
I don't think it will be.
No.
How long do you think before it takes shape? Because last year we probably all sort of said individually or whatever that by October, November you'd know, but then by October, November it was so wide open. Is there going to be a smaller clique this year who's going to start to take control?
I think you're probably going to be looking at Coventry, Swindon. I'd probably say Grimsby will be up there as well. I think probably us will be up there. With the players that all the teams have brought in and just the strength and depth that they've got in the squads in the first place, I think the depth's going to be a key point this season. So if the bad weather comes, you're going to get injuries from bad tackles, and
we're actually due a bad winter, I think, aren't we? Because
well, we've not had a home game called off in 3 years.
Yeah. Is that due to the weather or testament to Mez?
A bit of
both,
yeah.
really.
It's both. We have had a good winter.
We've had bad, well, not exactly a bad winter, but it's just been rain all the time.
What would you classify as a bad winter then, Nath? How badly would you say it would affect us?
What affects? I think snow is going to be the main factor. I mean, obviously we've got covers and things now, so I think we'll survive. I think the winter this year we're going to be absolutely fine. But what I'm saying is over the last few years, like you just mentioned, we haven't had much snow or anything like that. So we have had fairly mild winters, and yes, like Cam says, we have had rain, which has affected a lot of clubs around the country. But even, like I say, thanks to the great work of Mez looking after the pitch, we still haven't had many games postponed. So I think we'll be fine on that front, to be honest. But like I say, we are due a bad winter, but I think we'll survive it, whereas other clubs might not.
Yeah, I guess another important thing about that is how, quick Paul Rayner and Steve Evans can work in terms of the training, because you look at having a bad winter, we've got such a big squad now. It's in terms of being able to find a venue which is quick enough. But another positive, I guess, is having the 3G at the Stags.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but it's down to, if we get like 2-3 foot of snow, that's not going to make any difference. It's going to be down to over the winter months. If we get that bad weather, you're going to be training inside. It's not getting players ready for that cold Tuesday night in Accrington, for example, is the old football.
Nobody wants a cold Tuesday night in Accrington, even people who live in Accrington.
But that's the sort of thing that you get, and I think if we do get this bad weather, I think that's where most clubs will be downturned. If we get the bad weather, I think that's where we faltered in the conference a lot. We had that few years we were in the conference, we always seemed to get bad winters. We had like 2-3 foot of snow, and it was crazy. And we were looking good for a few seasons, but we just tailed off at the end.
At the end of the day, every other club's in the same position. If we
get
winter.
True.
So I just think we've got an advantage there now, because we've got, like I say, the great pitch in there. Obviously, we've got to consider how we're going to train and things, but so has every other club. But at the end of the day, if we've got home matches throughout that period, the chances are ours are going to be on and other clubs aren't, and they've got to catch up with those fixtures. So.
And that will always come to pay as well. I mean, we've been lucky once when it comes to a rearranged fixture. Remember Hereford a couple of years ago? That original game was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch, and it ended up being the game which took us up eventually. But I think it's a good point that you raised, because if teams towards the back end of the season, who are up there and need to keep going, who perhaps have got smaller squads than us slightly, are playing 2 games a week, maybe even 3, trying to play catch up, and we're just playing 1. That's surely good for us in terms of fitness, being able to last the 90 minutes.
Definitely.
Yeah, it plays into our advantage, obviously, don't it, as well. So, like I say, we're not catching up on it, so it's in our hands in that respect.
Let's have a brief reflection then on last night. One thing which I was very annoyed about, actually, which was, I should never get annoyed about what people say in the stands, but it's the criticism of Danny Rose for missing the penalty.
That was, obviously.
Are we all on the same page here? It wasn't a bad penalty, it was actually a good save.
It was a good save. And
in those conditions, you can't really do much difference. You just need to make up for it.
There's the point. I mean, it was absolutely hammering it down all day yesterday. And if you try and place a penalty in the corner by skidding it across the surface, as you do when you try and place a penalty into the corner, it's going to zip away and probably drift wide. So the best option there, surely, is to hammer it hard and low.
Yeah. Couldn't fault him for it. I mean, he hit it as hard as he could. That's all he asked for, really.
Yeah, there was another thing as well about, we created chance after chance after chance. We did the same against Crewe on Saturday, and we perhaps didn't have the luck with the draw. People were saying we need this big striker. Have your opinions changed over the last 7 days, having watched the 2 games, that we need that out-and-out striker, or are you still happy that Danny Rose, Leon Gall and with Amari, Sterling James and Jimmy Spencer in backup will do the job?
I still think Leanne will definitely get the goals. It's just a game. I mean, it's only early stages. Yeah, I mean, we've only played 2 games, so there's plenty of games to go yet. But I still think, I think we need an extra striker that can still get us at least about 10-15 goals.
Yeah, I think that is. Oh, I don't know really, to be honest.
Are you on the fence slightly then?
Yeah, I really don't know, to be honest.
For me, I look at Crewe for a prime example. They had absolute quality up front in Porter as well, and Dagnall was the other name as well. Them two were quality pairing, both experienced players, scored goals at League 1, League 2, Conference, been there, done it. If we were going to go and sign a striker, that's the sort of player I'd want to go out and sign rather than a younger player. But then my worry would be, where does Leanne Goll and Danny Rose fit into the picture? It's a big juggling act.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, that's it.
I would probably say that if we did have that big goal scorer out there that we need, or that a lot of people say that we need, that could have been the difference between last night and Saturday, getting either the 3 points or possibly getting into extra time or getting through to the next round. So in that aspect, I think we do. And I know what you mean about how you're going to keep all the other players happy. That's up there, but I mean, a lot of people was also commenting at last night about Sterling James, about whether he should actually be a striker or whether he should be a winger, because a lot of his success last night did come when he went out wide and he was cutting in, and he was running rings around a League One, a very good League One side. He had some very good spells, and I think he did the same at Crewe, didn't he? He had some very good spells there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm sorry to cut you off. I agree, but one thing which for me, I would be happy with him doing that if he was playing in a wide role. It was playing centre forward, which for me left us short in the box. Spencer's not an out-and-out goal scorer.
If we get a striker in, he's still going to be an influential player, and we've got the option of putting him out on the wing, so we're still going to be having the effect from him, even if we get a striker in. So we don't have to worry about, say him for example, of being left out of the squad. So I think he's going to be a big player for us this season.
Another player which has sort of been highlighted on Twitter, just looking through our tweets, if you want to get involved on that, by the way, we are at MCFC Matters, and all of our Twitter accounts are in the description below and on the website and have you. We've sort of put a tweet out on Saturday night, one which came back was saying, one thing's for sure, if Pearce doesn't start some games soon, he will leave. Good enough to start for the champions of this league. He did start Tuesday night against Rochdale. I had a temporary moment of forgetting who we played. It was out last night. It's been a very long day, people, very long day. He did start last night. Will he keep his place on Saturday against Forest Green?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's been one of those consistent performers, and I think what you're going to get with him. And I mean, hopefully he will do, because he's done nothing wrong in that respect to be out of the team really. So I think he works well in defence. I'll definitely have him in the team.
And I think as well there, obviously, just on that comment, Cam, do you think he would be tended to leave if he wasn't getting the games, or do you think we've brought in enough quality for him to say, I need to step up my game?
I wouldn't say that we've brought in enough to warrant him leaving. I don't think that. I think personally, Pearce is probably going to get more time than Murphin. Obviously, Murphin's played 2 games already this season. Shaky against Crewe, but he looked more solid against Rochdale.
I don't want to sound like I've got a vendetta here at all, and I don't like criticising players, but for me, against Crewe, the number 7, Porter and Dagnall for Crewe, had the beating and read Murphin all day long. And if you look back and analyse their second goal, he gets completely dragged out of position. The goal scorer, Porter wasn't it, the goal scorer, spins off of him, runs into the box, he's unmarked, Murphin's nowhere near him, free header goal. That you can't defend like that.
Oh no, definitely not. And I think they have worked hard in training. Did they train on Sunday?
Who knows?
I don't know.
I know they said they went in for a session after Crewe.
They do often come in for light work. But
I think it's a Tuesday night match, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, whenever they have trained, they've obviously worked on something. Evans has spoke to him, or I can't remember the analysis guy's name at the Stags. Probably should have researched that anyway. Sean Summit, yeah. But he's obviously worked with him, because
we are Mansfield fans, honestly.
we are. But he has worked with someone, obviously, because it was a big improvement last night against Rochdale.
He did improve last night.
He didn't look half the player that he was on Saturday against Crewe. I don't think he was like strong enough. I don't think he was battling in the air enough. But that's just settling into the team. I think it's down to obviously making the big gap between League One and League Two. Oppositions at the weekend, obviously Crewe still a strong team, but Rochdale, you would say, you could tell are a League One team. They do look a lot stronger.
Is the Fats' improvement though not just down to the data analyst? I'm not saying that he doesn't do a fantastic job, because he clearly does, but there's also a difference in there from Saturday. On Saturday at Crewe, he had Xander Diamond next to him. Last night against Rochdale, he had Christian Pearce next to him. Is there a partnership thing? Do you believe in that?
I think it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, it does matter. It's having that the trust within your other defenders, because you know if you get dragged out of position ever so slightly, they're gonna either knock you back in line or come across a little bit just to cover, just in case the ball does get put over the top or put past you. You're not in position, and that was happening quite a lot last night. They were out of position a lot, but they were just the way the game was flowing. I think every player was out of position at some point, just how the game was played. It was a lot of ball in the air, players chasing back, trying to get under the ball, and it was completely different to what we had on Crewe on Saturday. Yeah, it chucked it down at Crewe, but not quite as extreme as it did last night.
Well, yeah, it's just about getting the match fitness as well. That's a big thing as well. Obviously, players that haven't, had much pre-season minutes as well. It's going to take them a bit of time to get match fitness, but yeah, I mean, it's simple really. The more minutes they get on the pitch and playing alongside the same players, hopefully, week in, week out, then they're going to get a bond together, and it's going to make the team easy for the team.
I think one thing that's quite interesting, and I agree with this as well, is that yes, we are analysing the players over a couple of games, which obviously everyone's going to do, but I can't remember if it was Steve Evans or Paul Reyno, one of them said that it's going to be over the 9 or 10 games where they're going to really analyse these players to know who really deserves that, that first team shirt and who's not quite made the cut. And I think that's right. I don't think you can really judge players over such a short amount of games, because there's so many, the difference between Crewe and Rochdale. There's a big difference in how they both play. The conditions are very different, and obviously, like you say, the team around. So, say if you're judging Murphin, to be honest, there's different players around him, so that's also going to affect that. So you need to look at them over more of a longer period than just a couple of games.
And I think one thing which people perhaps are a little bit guilty of in some respects as well is looking at the fact that not every team you come up against plays a flat 4-4-2 and lumps it long down the channels. Not every team you come up against plays 3 at the back and tries to play it in midfield. Each team sets up differently. Each team has got different ways and styles of playing, and it's actually about the research and the scouting which is done to it, to how you counter that. There's a lot. Football is not just a game played on grass, is it? It's played in the mind.
Oh, definitely. And I think the development of technologies, your cameras and things like that, you can analyse things a little bit more in detail, and I think that's crucial to certain games where you look at some games and you're like, on paper they look exactly the same, but you look at the analysis that the scouts have done, the management teams have done, they'll see the differences in the teams, whereas us we'll see little bits, but we won't see everything.
I mean, the other thing as well, the other good thing about having a big squad as well, you're going to have certain players playing against certain teams, so that's another big thing about having a big squad as well, rotating it as well. So that's
what I like to call the Jamie Maguire syndrome, isn't it? The games where you're going to go to on a Tuesday night where you've got to have a player who's going to, let's be honest about this, is going to get under somebody's skin and proper annoy him. Yeah. Absolutely smash through someone in the first minute, stop pinching him every time they're in the corner.
Well, I think a key thing from last season.
Let's re-sign Jamie Maguire. Let's just get that in there now. Yeah? Steve, if you're watching,
Man
get
crush.
It sorted.
Man crush. But I think a key one for that last season was you look at someone like Jamie Maguire and Wickham's Adebayo Akinfenwa.
Yeah.
You look at the games that
Impact
they played.
players.
They did. And Maguire really got under Akinfenwa's skin. There's these niggly little tackles that Akinfenwa doesn't like. Akinfenwa's a big guy and he's strong, but he's not quick enough. Whereas Jammers, he's little, but he can move.
Never underestimate the power of Jamie Maguire. Let's move on slightly before Cam starts chipping with some other stuff. Let's move on slightly to obviously we're talking about having a big squad there. One thing which we've got again this year is the under 21s or under 23s, depending on which way you want to categorise it. Let's just call it the reserves and have a look at that. Obviously reserve league. Maguire obviously involved in that setup, and how imperative is it when we have home games, wherever they played, whether it's Clipston, Rainworth or the One Course Stadium or wherever, how imperative is it to have those players who aren't starting on a Saturday in the league? How important is it for them to make sure they are getting in that side to get them confidence? Because yes, it's a reserve league, yes, a lot of teams don't take it seriously, but at the end of the day, a reserve team fixture is a lot better and a lot more competitive than, say, an 11 and V11 training. How important is it to get those players involved?
I think
match fitness, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's what they need. If they, like I say, training is one thing, but if they are really going to come in on a game on a Saturday or a Tuesday night or whenever, if they're going to come in and make a real impact, they need to be match fit.
And I think what Evans said at the beginning of the season is crucial. Not fit to play, fit by playing. And I think that's going to be a big part of this season. The players that aren't quite fit enough playing in the reserve teams, so that they can get that fitness back, so that they are match ready. And then even if they're not making the starting 11, chucking them on for the last 15 minutes if we need someone.
Let's move from present to past now with the start of a brand new feature which I referenced on last week's podcast, and then, like the proverbial idiot, completely forgot to run through it. It's called the Ultimate 11. Now this is one where we want you guys at home to interact on Twitter and on Facebook. After each episode we're going to be putting a poll for you to vote on there. Basically what we're going to do each week is we are going to pick, or our panel will pick, their favourite player to don a Stag shirt from any season from the past, whether it be a trialist, a loanee or otherwise from a certain position. They've got 60 seconds and 60 seconds only, and we are going to be timing it, maybe not, to put their bid for their player to you guys at home to vote on Twitter. The player with the most votes before we start recording the next week's podcast will make it into our Ultimate 11. There are only 2 rules though, guys. You can't pick a current player, and you can't pick the same player as another analyst. Are we clear on the rules before we start?
Yeah.
I don't want to get through this series and then, be breaking these rules. Are we clear on the rules?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. This week's position will start with the man between the sticks. The men we can't choose between this year, obviously, Bobby Olejnik and Conrad Logan, which we'll come on to shortly. It's the goalkeeper. Cam, you've got some goalkeeper clubs actually down behind us.
I have.
Me and Nathan arrived together here at Carbank Park. I've been working all day. Been working since 9:30 this morning, by the way. On numerous,
It's only 10:30 now, by the way.
Yeah. It's actually, let's be factually correct, it's coming up to 4 minutes to 6 on this Wednesday evening. He's going to get his iPhone watch out in a minute and start playing that and prove me wrong. But my point is, me and Nathan arrived this together after a bit of a mad dash to get stuff done. We arrived, we walked straight into here at Carbank Park, lovely place it is as well. And what do we see? These two playing football. Did they invite us for a kick around? No, they didn't.
No, we didn't get any invite.
Well, you was working, and we knew that Nathan was being picked up by you. So Nathan won't be here until you got here.
It's just
warming up.
I feel
There's
that.
logic.
I don't know about
There's
you.
logic
I don't know about
behind
you,
it.
Nathan, but I think that these two have got a little bit of a sub-relationship going on, and we should leave them to it. What do you think?
It's not good for the dressing room, this.
Yeah, but it's not quite as big.
There's already a split in the Mansfield Matters
It's already
Podcast
happening.
dressing room.
Just all warming up.
Second episode.
Something's brewing, but we're not quite sure what yet.
Well,
we'll see.
let's not talk about you and dodgy brews. Anyway, let's move on. Obviously, goalkeeper is the main choice. Cam, I think we should do this in order of people who've made international appearances for England. So let's start with Nathan. Obviously,
Well, that's
I haven't made technically an international
did you come on as a sub?
Yeah, but it wasn't it wasn't an England game, so I haven't made my international appearance until 2 weeks.
You try and do something nice by offering him to go first. And do you want to wait and see what?
No, I'll take it.
Okay, your favourite goalkeeper, trialist, loanee, or otherwise, from any season previous. You can pick absolutely anybody, and then give us a reason. First of all, just give us a name.
Kevin Pilkington.
Okay, Cam.
David Groff.
David Groff. Ooh, so permanent captain, loanee. Mark.
Elaine Marriott.
Elaine Marriott. Who's Elaine Marriott?
She's alright.
It did sound like Elaine, didn't it? It wasn't just me. I've not gone mutton in this here, have I? No. It's Alan Marriott. So I was going to choose. You've chosen who I was. I've made this game for. I've already shot myself in the foot. Yeah. Nathan, you've chosen who I was going to choose. You've also chosen who I was going to choose. This is actually tough. All right,
throw a spanner in the works. Paddy Gamble.
No, well, definitely not going to choose
Jason White.
I am going to choose. You've gone for quite recent, so I will honour the old guard and go for Kevin Hitchcock. Okay? He did play for it, Wembley, obviously, yeah. I don't know why.
Come
I was thinking. I thought for a minute I got the last name wrong. It's been a very long day. Right, we're going to have 60 seconds now for each of us to sort of stake our claim to put our player in the team. Hopefully, if I remember to do this, we'll add some nice little sound effects in the background as well. But if it doesn't happen, you listen to this and the sound effects don't happen, there's not like a fancy clock on the screen. I couldn't be bothered, I fell asleep. It's the way it is. So Nathan, obviously you've chosen Kevin Pilkington to be your goalkeeper for the Mansfield Matters Ultimate 11. Please tell us why in 3, 2, 1, go.
He helped us get promotion, that's all I can really say. I mean, it was many years ago when he was with us, but he was with us for quite a few years. I can't remember how many years off the top of my head, but
2 spells
for a while. Yeah, 2 spells as well. But no, I just think he was a very good shot stopper, but his character as well. He always seemed to be balling and shouting, and I think he got 12% off a couple of times as well, didn't he? So I think he was with us at a very crucial time, and he just fit into that team, I think. So, yeah.
You've got another 30 odd seconds, so are you happy with that? Or
no, I'm happy with that.
You don't want to do the whole vote for me sort of thing? You know.
Both Kev is a vote for quality.
I like it. I'll stop it there. Okay, let's mix it up a bit, Mark. Let's go for you. You've chosen Alan Marriott, pretty in pink Alan Marriott, of course. Yeah. The goal scorer against that goal against Wrexham. I'm probably doing his bidding for him, aren't I?
Right. Can we just bring that back up? Pretty in pink, wet night. Absolutely hammering it down, scoring a goal. You won't believe this, Craig actually wanted Olejnik to score one of them sort of goals last night.
I was so happy when he went forward for that corner.
It was like, go on Olejnik, go on Bobby O.
I turned to you and I said, with the last 5 minutes I went, if I shout loud enough from a Scottish accent, go on Bobby, you think he'll run forward? I'm not going to do it. Right, Mark, Alan Marriott, why should he be in the Mansfield Matters Ultimate 11? 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, you know, when he was with us, he was a fan favourite. Obviously, a pivotal role getting us up from the conference, and you know, a lot of fans wanted him to stay on, including myself, in the league. And you know, many felt disappointed that Paul Cox didn't keep him on an extra year. You know, I mean, obviously we went for a spell when we had Sassy Studer afterwards, and it was difficult for him to replace him really. And you know, so many matches that he performed so well, and you know, even now fans speak highly of him, and it was a fantastic instrumental part, and like I say, that's getting us up. And you know, it would have been nice to see him have a fair crack in the league because he deserved it. You know, he did nothing wrong, and you know, for me, he'll always be a legend.
You've done 37 seconds. I should have shortened this to 30. I thought a minute was good enough, but there you go. Cam, you went for David Groff. Tell us why.
Short and sweet.
In 3, 2. Or do I even need to time? I do. Fairness. Go.
Well, I think David Groff. Fair enough, he only played a couple of games for us, but I think they are the couple of games that he did play, possibly the most crucial ones in our recent history. No, I'm not talking about the ones that we got promoted, but obviously Wembley. He played the 2 big games against Luton in the first leg, second leg. Just as a general, he was just solid in the goal. He was bossing players around. He just really he knew what this meant to Mansfield and what he meant. Well, obviously Marriott was injured, we had to get someone in it to replace him, and I think Groff was, for the games that we had to get him for, I think he was a good replacement. Obviously it was unlucky not to get that walk out at Wembley because Marriott was then fit again, but I think, you know, on merit, I think Groff's probably one of the better goalies that we've ever had on loan. The rest have been a bit woeful, but you know what? Fair play to him, he got us to Wembley, can't complain.
Oh, right, this is right. You're going to have to move with me because we are attached, but
literally.
We are attached. I'm going to show this to the camera, see if it will focus on that. It has indeed. Look at that. 1 minute bang on from Cam Felton describing his day. That is the expert of time. Have you ever done any radio work, Cam, by any chance? Has that been something?
In all fairness, I have, but it was all self-taught and all that.
Self-taught?
Guess who's walking home later?
Somebody's walking home later. Okay. I had a little sort of thought while I was thinking about my choice, and can I change it?
Deliberation.
Could do.
I mean, he's gone on about rules, wasn't he? Earlier?
Yeah, rules. Yeah.
We'll listen to you, then we'll see if we allow it or not.
Yeah, we'll see.
Tactical.
You've got to make a good claim for your player. If not, then you've got to stick with your original and you've got to pitch a claim for him as well.
Okay. The Beast, Brian Jensen.
Yeah, let him keep it.
Yeah, we'll let you keep that one.
Hitchcock, you are indeed a Stags legend, and I'm sorry that I've had to change my choice, but I will explain why. If you want to be deliberator on this, Cam,
Hello.
that's
Yes,
fine.
yes. Go.
Brian the Beast Jensen, many years in the Premier League, many years a legend, feared by many, but indeed a very good shot stopper. These mentioned earlier on about the Sasha Studa era, the Dimitar Ivitimov era, where, let's just face it, they're a little bit dodgy. I love Sasha Studa's bits, don't get me wrong. Jensen comes in as goalkeeping coach with Scott Shearer there as well. And then Scott Shearer gets a little nasty bite against Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup. Notts County is the next fixture away. It's an important derby, it's a Friday night. We need a hero, and who steps into the lineup but Brian the Beast Jensen. Clean sheet, marshalled the defence, kept us in the game with numerous saves. He was fantastic, he was strong, he was a lion, he was the beast, he is the best. This is a vote for Brian the Beast Jensen. Make it count. Stop it.
That was impressive. 1 minute .49. So slightly.
I'm happy with that. I think yours was about 4:93.
Yeah, no. Mine was 1 minute .33. Now, if you want to look at that, then the camera's there. I'm sure you'll look at it on the review.
Shut up.
But anyway, honestly, I thought that was quite good. You look at Brian Jensen, fantastic, and I think what a better player to bring in for the first local derby.
I'm going to stop you there because I think that you've answered my next question already. Obviously, we've all heard each other's pitches and each other's choices. I'm going to go along the line, starting with Nathan. If you were to, obviously you can't vote for your own, but if you were to vote for anybody else's, then who would you vote for? It's quite a simple question, really. Just remember who's taking you home.
Well,
to be honest, it was going to be between before you threw. If you didn't throw Jensen in there, I'd have gone with Alan Marriott. But it's probably going to be Jensen now.
So you've sided with me over Mark with Jensen.
I have, yeah.
Okay, Cam. Obviously, you've got Pilkington, Marriott, and Jensen to choose between. Who would your vote be for?
I'd say Marriott, because arguably one of the best players that we've had recently, just as a general thing. But I think without him, we would probably. It'd take us longer to get out of the conference without him, and I think to get into the positions that we've had against these local teams, Notts County, we spent a couple of years without one in the league, and I think without Marriott, I don't think we would have got to back to the league as quick.
Mark, obviously between the Beast, Brian Jensen, obviously David Groff and Sir Kevin of Pilkington, who are you going to go for?
It's got to be the Beast again. I mean, the wealth of experience they brought in as well. It was a character as well, and a good goalkeeping coach, and he was a good role model for the younger players as well. So, he just brought that calmness as well. And
yeah, it's a tough one for me really, because you three have chosen three choices that I would have gone for. To be honest, I mean, David Groff was an absolute fantastic keeper, young keeper. Yes, some will argue that he was the person in goal at Hayes and Yedlin when Tyrone Thompson scored that own goal.
That own goal was the flukiest thing to happen ever. That could have happened to anybody at any time.
Yeah. And Groff was such a character, as you mentioned, Cam, in your little pitch. He was fantastic in the FA Trophy, and afterwards he was an absolute joy to interview. And he's actually recently got married, so from all of us at Mansfield Matters, congratulations, Groffy.
Yeah. Congratulations.
It's fantastic to see him actually doing so well, actually, over abroad. But other than Groff, between Marriott and Pilkington, Marriott scored that goal, obviously the pink shirt, which was made famous, as Cam, you said, obviously got us out of the conference with superb performances and what have you, but it has to be Kevin Pilkington. There is a reason, and you can joke and you can bring the
Is it because he didn't save?
out.
Is it because he didn't save Lou Briscoe's penalty that sent us to Wembley?
I forgot all about that. Actually. I'll add that in there.
Goal for Lou.
Yeah, I'll add that in there. But no, actually, in all seriousness, the reason I actually got into watching football was because shock horror, ginger glasses. I was quite heavily bullied at school, as you can well imagine. And one thing for me, which was sort of a bit of a relief, was actually going to watch football. And Kevin Pilkington happened to be playing in goal for Mansfield on the first game that I went to watch. Don't ask me who it was against because I can't remember. He had an absolute blinder, and I wanted to be Kevin Pilkington. He was the captain, he was the leader, he had respect, he had authority, he had all those qualities which I strived for. So for me, he'll forever be a hero. Yes, he went to Notts County. Yes, he broke Chris Beardsley's leg. Yes, he, was slightly loath for his kicking, but to me, he will always be a hero.
And that can be my pitch as well. There we go.
Why did I go? That's what I said. That's what I said.
Well, edit Nathan's out. We'll just stick Craig's in instead.
How could you mime him? We'll dub my pitch over your boy. Oh, fantastic. Let's move back then to the here and now. Forest Green Rovers. Before we do, vote on Twitter at MTFC Matters and on Facebook as well. And if you want to join in the conversation with all of us, our Twitters are in the description for you to listen to. Let's move back to the here and now then. As I say, Forest Green Rovers at the One Call Stadium on Saturday. How important is 3 bags of coal, Nathan?
Massive, I think. I think it will just get us going. Forest Green, new sided division. They're not going to bring a lot of fans on it. Let's be honest about that. So I'm not expecting a big spot away from them, even if it is their first away game. But it's our first proper home game. Let's get 3 points on the board and move forward from there.
Do we have a bit of a psychological advantage on this psychological advantage, sorry if I get my words out. It's been a long day, 9:30 started this morning, just get that in there again. Forest Green in the Cup last night, they went all the way to extra time, very close to the new style ABBA penalty shootout where the winner would have took it all.
You stole my joke. I said that last night.
Yeah, sorry. By the way, if you want to have a look at some more ABBA puns, do visit my match report blog from last night where you can see numerous match reports. Nice little plug in there, thank you. Moving on, Mark's is on there as well, just for reference purposes. You can check it out if you want as well. And Cam, you should start writing, and then we'd have 3 bloggers, and Nathan, do what you want. You vlog, yeah. Check out Nathan's vlog channel, by the way. You've not vlogged today.
No, I haven't.
Have you found your camera?
Do you want to know why? Yeah, this is why.
That's before we move on to Forest Green, let's find out this story.
All it was is that we've had this situation before where me and my partner Emma, who's
now before you start slating her and slagging her off, I don't want to split you up. Is there anything that you're going to say in here which is likely to cause you to have your nuts chopped off?
Probably.
Carry on.
Right.
We've
lost a couple of leads before, and she was adamant I lost them. You know what women are like. And well, let's not go into that. She reckons she's always right. Gentlemen, not Mansfield Matters or any of the partner organisations. Carry on, Nathan. Yes, so she believes she's always right. She was adamant she didn't take the camera home. I spent the whole day turning the room upside down, searching everywhere, couldn't find it. I said, "Are you sure you haven't got it?" She was absolutely adamant. 5 minutes later, I get a text from her. Oh, I found it in my washing basket.
In a washing basket?
Oh,
yeah. It was in a jeans pocket apparently, and then it's fallen out and ended up in there. So
it hasn't been washed.
Well, it's waterproof anyway, so it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah. That would have been great footage, to be fair.
It would. It's recording.
Yeah. I think we should just do that.
I wanted to ever see it inside of a washing machine.
Everyone wants to know what happens, but
the mystery of the unpaired sock solved by Nathan's YouTube channel.
Yeah. And Nathan Edge was right once again.
Have you found it, Nate? So you have found it now.
Yeah.
But she's still got it. Is that the?
That's correct. We're off to London tomorrow. I'm going off for an award ceremony on Friday. Talented Athlete Scholarship Award.
In there for that,
yeah, thank you very much. We're vlogging over the weekend. So if you're on YouTube, check out Nathan and Emma, and you'll find us on there. Hopefully it's entertaining.
Link in the description below, and when Nathan returns from his little break, obviously going off on international duty, he will be vlogging a little bit more about the behind the scenes of this as well, so we'll keep you up to date with that. Let's move back to Forest Green then. Now you've got your little plug-in for your subscriber. Do we get a cut of the fee, by the way, for that?
Yeah.
Eventually, if I get enough subscribers, then we start monetising our channel, which will be a long, long way away. If I still know you, then maybe.
If you still know me. I'm rich, so you can go.
Yeah.
Let's move back to Forest Green. Then obviously I was saying about the psychological advantage in there, Mark.
Yeah.
They went all the way to extra time on Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup, in the League Cup, the Third World or whatever sports drink energy cup. It's a mix between Powerade and Red Bull, basically. They went all the way to extra time against a strong MK Dons side. If I've got the fixtures right. I hope I have. Yeah, I have. Thank you, Cam. Awkward if I haven't. And journalist. obviously they're at home. They've got to then travel up to us on Saturday. They've got a small squad, not got the strength in depth that we've got. They come up from the conference. They've obviously been to the One Course Stadium before.
Yeah.
They've got players who've played at the One Course Stadium before. Obviously Lee Collins, ex-Mansfield Town as well, so we know all about Steve Evans and Iacovitti as well in there, as you mentioned. Camus didn't play under Evans, but obviously Lee Collins would as well.
Lee Collins?
Iacovitti was, Iacovitti was under Evans as well, but he didn't play under him. He was sort of towards the back end of his lane. So obviously, you know, there's players in there who obviously do know about the club and have played there before, but it's a long way for them to come. They'll be tired after midweek. We've got to come out how we finished last night, and that is foot down, fifth gear, absolutely relentless, right or wrong?
Yeah, absolutely, just go for it. I mean, we've got the home advantage, you know, we've got the play. I mean, I'm on paper, I mean, let's face it, we've got players that can do it. I mean, I know that's not football, but, you know, all we've got to do is just go out attack basically, you know, just play the way we've played like. I think we can take any team to sword. I mean, let's make Field Mill a fortress, really, where teams fear to come.
It's an interesting one for me because obviously they've got a bit of a point to prove, having tried for so many years to come out of the conference. We know how difficult it is. They're not a massively well-supported club in terms of numbers. It's a place in the middle of nowhere, it's a small ground, teams won't relish going there at all, but they have got points to prove, and against us that's the perfect platform to do it. Have we got to be wary of that?
I think yes, because I think their fans will be up for it. There won't be many come up, but they'll be up for it, the players will be looking at it. Obviously their management will be looking at the players right now over training the next few weeks. They'll be looking at not the next few weeks, the next few days, looking at how we've taken games, how we've actually looked at the games and how we played. You know what, I think the game's going to be won in the first half, to be honest. I think it's going to be down to the first half performance of both teams that decide the actual game. Because if we can come out playing in the first half like we did against Rochdale in the second half, then I think you'll be looking at 2 or 3-0 before half time.
Nathan, agree, disagree?
It's a potential banana skin, I think. You know, I think in football, doesn't matter what the teams are like on paper, you can't underestimate an opposition. If you go out there with that attitude, you pretty much setting yourself up to be beaten. So I think we've got to go out there, respect them. You know, they're in League 2 for a reason, but also we've got to believe in our own abilities. And we've got some players. A lot of our players have come from Championship, League 1. They've got to believe that they are better than them and go out there and actually have a bit of arrogance about them. Go out there and attack them from the offset, get an early goal, and then possibly then we could go on and see 2 or 3 like Cam says. But it depends on what attitude we got out on that pitch, I think.
And if we get a goal as well, Mark, early doors, the One Course Stadium is going to be rocking.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get a big attendance as well. I mean, a lot of people, if we went to Crewe, they'd have seen, you know, there was an attacking team there, you know, that could come back, and hopefully we can get on the front foot, and I think it'll be difficult for them to get back in the game, really. So
controversial topic, something which has been in my head for a while, and again, I'm probably going to get shot down for this, but pre-season, the Quarry Lane end was closed, so everybody was in the North stand, the Ian Greaves stand, or what have you, and having people collectively there together obviously means the noise volume goes up a little bit more and the atmosphere improves a little bit.
Yeah.
Would you have been inclined or be inclined at some point, if numbers stay relatively lower than what we expect, what we'd like them to be, would you have perhaps not necessarily banned season ticket sales in the Quarry Lane, but sort of just said use that for an overspill stand just at the start of the season, at this point, keeps costs down as it did last night in the cup in the pre-season, but also to help us a little bit more with the atmosphere. You've got Steve Evans and the players now over our side, new dugouts in place with the Astro down there, looks nice, bar for the MTFC badge which needs to go in the middle.
It does.
But just on that point, before we get onto a sidetrack there, would that be something which you'd back? I know it's a controversial topic, but it just helped. For me, I think it just helped the atmosphere a little bit. Yeah,
it's similar to the Bishop Street. I mean, people are saying let's do that, but it's similar kind of reason. I mean, if you haven't got a high attendance, then what's the point really? So I think that would make sense to really just, you know, not use it as much only if the numbers increase, like you say. So just see how it goes more than anything.
And I just think, for me, it just keeps everybody together. The atmosphere, for example, at Saturday at Crewe, that's what sort of started ticking over in my mind really. We was down the entire side of the pitch. We filled it, the noise was great, it was fantastic, it was a good feeling. Wouldn't it be nice to have that at a home game rather than sporadic seats?
And I think I think the atmosphere at Crewe was down to, well, there was a lot of fans, but they were all patched around. There were a lot of fans. Obviously, we were sat towards the noisy lot that sit like miles out of the way normally. Yeah. But they were just these odd patches of just fans. They were just shouting. The atmosphere was great all across.
That was
the
just
stand.
Mark.
Yeah, Mark. I thought Mark was actually going to knock Chris out at some point.
Yeah.
Chris, by the way, Craig's dad.
Debatable.
Well, yeah. Donald says different, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it was just great to have these different bits of atmosphere. You don't want it all in one place. It was spread out across the entire stand, and I think the actual shape of the stand itself helped quite a bit because it get the noise quite enclosed, and it just pushing it straight out of the stand. Whereas if the atmosphere at the One Call Stadium, because the stand's so tall, all the stands are so big.
Yeah. Because it's so open as well, I think
you lose a lot of atmosphere.
Yeah. Nathan, what about your perspective? Obviously, as a blind football supporter, does it make a better?
Doesn't matter where I sit for the view anyway.
Well, that's true.
Well, yeah.
But the one thing, I mean, the problem is away games. They just feel different anyway to home games. I mean, you know, away games, you're going away, and the atmosphere actually is probably there before you even arrive at the ground because you're travelling away.
By virtue of the fact you are away from home.
Yeah, and you've got other people with you. So I think that actually lifts the game anyway when you're away, whether there's a big crowd there, whether you're bunched together or not. So at home, there's that factor as well. But the problem is, there's a lot of people that would have sat behind that goal for many, many years.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as you think it would be good to get everyone come together for an atmosphere, you're still going to upset quite a few people who are going to want to sit in that stand. So I don't think you can never make everybody happy anyway, but it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to say. It's, like I say, it's a controversial topic. I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, ideally what we'd like to see is let's just get bigger crowds. That's what we need. So that's one thing that has disappointed me this year is this season in particular, that at the moment the season tickets are still very, very low when you look in comparison to somewhere like Lincoln who have sold over 5,000. Yes, they have just come up and they're on a high, but they've also got a much smaller population over there. And I know we've got like the Forest and places like that around us, and it's always going to be hard because obviously we've also been down in the Commons where we lost a lot of supporters, and again it's the financial aspects, but I would still like to see in those attendance.
Again, I'm going to sit on the fence here and maybe probably rub people the wrong way, which I don't intend to do whatsoever, but I've got to ask the question because it's sticking in my mind. Should the club have done more in terms of structuring payments for season tickets? Yes, they've got the deal which every Football League club has where you can get it through the finance company for I'm not going to be honest, a bit of an inflated percentage rate as well over the long term. Could the club have done something? We've got this ticketing system now, which is obviously it's the smart card. So could you have perhaps brought a card and brought 10 games for £100 or something like that, and maybe merge the options a little bit to try and encourage more people down, especially with the Steve Evans factor which is there?
Possibly, but then I can see why.
Or am I wanting too much?
I can see why clubs don't do it because they need to project cash flows and stuff like that. But then again, we haven't. We're a wealthy club now, haven't we? So do we really need to worry about that much? Would it be good to trial, say, for a season to see what happens? See, especially this season of all seasons where we are going to be aiming for promotion. Let's trial something like that. Get some supporters in. And if it doesn't quite work financially as in a cash flow sort of point of view, then drop it for next year. But actually, say if it brings in an extra, I don't know, just for example, if it brings in an extra 500 fans, even if, say, we drop that scheme next year, still 250 or 200 might still come, and that's still 250 gained from that trial. So it might be worth, like I say, doing it as maybe just a one-season thing to see how it works. I don't know, but I'd imagine there's reasons behind why they would or wouldn't do it. But I guess it was something worth experimenting.
Once again, if it's one of those things, isn't it? It wasn't a topic at all intended to annoy anyone or anything like that. Just put the pins out there. Let us know, by the way, if you've got an opinion on that at MCFC Matters on Twitter or on Facebook as well, facebook.com/MCFC Matters. And if you want to direct your comments at me or at Mark or at Cam or at Nathan, our Twitters and our social media tags are in the description below this video, or if you listen to the audio as well, the below there on the website. 2 more discussion topics before we move on to the Prediction League and wrap things up for the second Mansfield Matters podcast. We'll start with a very quick one, and it's a look elsewhere at the club in terms of the youth team. They started their title defence in their league on Tuesday lunchtime at Rainworth Miners Welfare. They played against the local rivals Chesterfield. They drew 1-1 this year. We were talking about it before, weren't we? Because we watched the kids a couple of weeks ago in that pre-season friendly. The ones who won the league now are actually too old to play in that division as per the rules, so they're going to step up to the under-21s. New bunch of talent to come through, but can John Dempster's side and the youth team side in general, keep it up the good work which they put in?
I think as long as the passion from the players is there, I think we could. I think we've got we've not got the best development squad in the league.
I think we've got one of the best development coaching structures in the league.
But we've got. You look at the start. You look at the competition. I think when we went away to Doncaster last season, you looked at they'd organised like a mini tournament festival type thing on their little pitches, and the structure that they've got is massive. They've got massive teams compared to ours, and I think as long as you can keep them players, I think it's going to be good. But I think obviously because Stags only started this a couple of years ago, I think we've still got to get to that phase where we're bringing through. We've got players coming through, but we're not really bringing any players through that are like going to rip the.
It all depends what division the senior side are in as well. I mean, if we were a conference side now, we'd be looking at the likes of Sam Wilson, your Zane Hakeems, your Louis Dankwas, who played in that friendly at Rainworth, and you'd be saying, yeah, they'd probably have a chance to get in the squad. But in 2 years' time, when they're getting to the age where they're going to be trying to knock on the first team door, we want to be a championship club, or at least a stable League One club. It's a question of getting them up to that standard, isn't it, really?
I think going back to what I said earlier, I think the commitment from the players and the passion that they're going to play with, I think is going to be a big point. There's no point in having a player that's just going to play for themselves. They need to play as a team. They need to have that passion there, and that's something you've got to learn from when you are in the youth team. If you've not got the passion for the game, then you're not going to get far. And I think as long as they keep playing well as a team, instead of just stand-out performers, you need to play well as a team. If someone's not quite pitching in, let them know. Come on, pick your game up, whatever. Get the entire team going. And I think that's what got me at Rainworth, I think. Obviously, Jack Thomas played. And I thought...
Is that Johnny Radford playing? It is actually... If that's Mr. Radford, if you're listening, Mr. Radford, passed over Carbank Park on Wednesday at about 25 past 6. Hello. Carry on, Cam, sorry.
Anyway, I think at Rainworth on, the Tuesdays ago, I think giving young, he's still young, Jack Thomas, that role as captain, being able to try and influence the game, I don't think he did, and I think that's what's going to set aside him to the younger players that are coming through now. You look at the players that have won that league twice in a row, and I think they're going to get further than what Jack Thomas did, even if it's not with us.
Because you're talking about a lot of passion there, and that is one thing, because I think players are going to need that sort of that want to improve. They need that in them. But the problem is, I think what Craig was alluding to earlier is that there's a big difference in the ability gap, and that's the problem. If we stay in League 2 where we are, which obviously we don't want, but just let's say if we did, say another couple of years, that gap will obviously close. We will bring in, the youth team will improve, and we'll bring in better ability.
We're catching up as well, I think.
Oh, financially, absolutely, yeah. We're still catching up. But if we do progress how we aim to progress in the league and jump up to Division 1 and Division 2, we can't make the youth team progress any faster, so then that's got even more catching up to do. So I think for a while we're always going to have that catch up, and that's just plain and simply because of what happened, because dropping out of the league. We can't do much about it now. All we can do is, I agree that we have got a fantastic setup in place, but we've still got a long way to go, I think, to catch up with, first of all, with the first team, but also with the competition elsewhere as well.
And of course,
also, sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, I'm saying with that, putting too much pressure on the lads now. I mean, look what they've done in such a short space of time. I mean, some of them's got pro contracts, so it just shows you, that we're moving forward off the pitch as well. And all they need is game time, and if the more games they play, well, it's like we're thirsty, and so it can only further their development really.
I'm definitely not a betting man, but if you want to put a cheeky pound on some of them ending up at Boston this year with Jamie Maguire and Adam Murray, I think that's a safe bet. Let's move on. Obviously, we wish all the youth teamers the best this year. We'll obviously endeavour to try and keep you as up to date as possible with all their their games and their results here on the podcast and on the website as well. Final bit of discussion point then for tonight. I alluded to it earlier on. We shouldn't judge players on 2 games, but there's a certain position which we've talked about a lot tonight in terms of goalkeeper, which they've had 90 minutes each in a squad each. I'm going to ask the question in turn down the line. I want one name for you. To start against Forest Green Rovers on Saturday, are we going for Conrad Logan or are we going for Bobby Olejnik? I'm going to start at this end with Mark.
Bobby Olejnik.
Cam.
Olejnik.
Nath. He's stumped, he doesn't know.
Yeah, Olejnik.
He's going to go Olejnik. I would agree, and I don't know whether you agree on this. I think we looked a little bit more secure at the back last night as a defensive unit, not necessarily in terms of the changes that we made. Obviously, we'd swapped White for Bennett at right back and Pearce for Diamond at centre back. But I think we just looked a little bit more defensively assured when when Rochdale came at us. He would come for crosses a little bit more. He was a little bit more vocal. He was very, very unlucky not to actually get a hand to the goal, and I just felt he had a slightly better game, and for me I think he would be the better choice on Saturday. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I know it's only one game he's played, Logan, but come on, the keeper should be coming out punching that at least, and
for the first goal.
Yeah, definitely, but yeah, Olejnik, is fast as well, and as you say last night, he looked confident, and I think the back four felt it as well. There was no pressure. He couldn't do anything about the goal. He didn't really do much wrong.
Superb strike, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course. And Cam, your reasons then, if you're going to put you in the mindset of Steve Evans now. It's Friday night. In fact, no, it's match down Saturday. You've called both keepers to your office. Please don't do the action. I don't want to be sued by Steve Evans. We don't have the budget for that. But if you were having a conversation with Conrad Logan and Bobby Olejnik in terms of who's going to start, what's the conversation? How does it play out?
I think honestly, firstly I'd probably say good performances from both. You can't
buzz them up. I like it. It's a good start.
You can't let negativity get into the camp at this early stage. If you've got a negative team already, then you're not going to do well. And I think that's what's going to be hard this season, obviously, because he's got to change the team up. You can't. I think under Murray and Cox and whoever we had before. Russell and Olesworth and all that, they played the same team week in, week out a lot of the time, and we didn't really have the depth of the squad to change it. And I think now that we've got 2 decent keepers in, I think it's going to be a lot tighter competition between the two. But from Evans' point of view, you'd look at result. I think not just the result as in like the actual match result. You look at the result for how well the players performed. You look on Saturday and Logan had an alright game. He didn't have the greatest game, but there were some good parts in the game. He didn't come out of his goal, but he was still there. He still made some good saves. Olejnik Tuesday night didn't really put a foot wrong, didn't really have much to do.
So he didn't have as much to do
with
it.
No, he didn't.
Logan, that was the problem.
And he didn't. But the saves that he has had to make have been absolutely top class, and I think generally down to performance, I'd probably say Olejnik definitely in goal for Saturday.
Nathan, your reasons for Olejnik other than just joining the rest of us?
Well, I think that's it. I think it's the fact that Logan probably did make a mistake Saturday, and that's it. That's the only reason why I think he might put Olejnik in for the league game. And but what I do think as well is, I think say if Olejnik does start on Saturday, I'd put money on it for say if we say for the up to the 10th game of the season, he won't stay in for the whole up to that 10th game. I think they will change again in the next few games. I think he's going to do the same. He's going to carry on looking at them both, and I think if one makes any mistake, the other one will just come in until he fully knows who he trusts between those sticks.
Definitely. Right then, it's time to wrap things up with the prediction league.
Before we do,
Obviously-
if we could just jump in very quickly, just to make supporters aware, if you're listening to this, if anybody has a visual impairment or knows anybody who has a visual impairment or blind, or just struggles with their sight, from this Saturday against Forest Green, with the Mansfield Town audio descriptive service will be available for any supporters in the ground. So if you would like to take advantage of that service, which is fantastic that the club have put it together, please go and find the ticket office first, or some stewards to get our service, and make sure you take advantage of that.
Yeah, and we'll try and put the details of that on our website as well. I can assure you as well that the AMS Sport guys have put together an absolute top quality team there as well. Wish them all the best, and obviously hope that pays off for yourself, Nathan, for
I'm
other
looking
sports as
forward
well.
to it.
Yeah, it
Funny
should-
fact, I was actually going to go for that, but then I thought, you know what, I'm going to get the season ticket instead.
Let's move on very, very quickly from that. Obviously, back to the prediction league. We'll come to this week's predictions very shortly. But first, we are 2 games in. I said to you guys in our little Facebook chat, if you all sent me privately the teams and your guesses, that we would do it for last night's game. You all did. So you obviously all saw mine. In fairness, I can tell you that after 2 games, the league table makes for very interesting reading. Cam,
Yeah.
you are propping up the rest at the bottom on 242 points. In 3rd place on 310 points, it's Mr. Nathan Edge. In 2nd place with 520 points, it's Mark. And in 1st
this
place,
is a fix.
it's me. It's not a fix.
Recap.
It's not a fix
Recap.
whatsoever. This is how the game works, of course. Each week we predict the score, which, if you get the result and the score correct, you get 10 points for that. If you get the outcome correct but the score wrong, you get 5 points for that. You then get a 1 point per goal scorers that you get right as well, which is why some have ended up with, Cam, you've ended up with 2, I've ended up with 1, etc, etc, etc. You get, then we've just, for the first game and for yesterday, we decided to sort of do it on team selection. Yeah. I'm going to let that roll on actually, because I think that's quite a good thing to do as well. 10 points per correct player in the starting 11. Subs don't matter, it's all about the starting 11. Yeah. Then you can double your whole points for the whole season in total, so it could be very, very interesting indeed, just by naming the correct captain. So at the moment, I have got no predictions correct. Mark, you've got no predictions correct. Nathan, you've got no predictions correct. Cam, you've also got no predictions correct. However, one of us in this little bench lineup here has got the outcome correct on one occasion, which was Nathan, which gave you 5 bonus points. Team selection, leading the way on team selection is again Nathan. Actually, you've got 150 points from your team selections so far. 2nd place is me with 140. Mark in 2nd on 130, and then Cam in the last place on 120. This is where it gets interesting though. Obviously, it's all about the captaincy and doubling your points. I have obviously named the captain correct. I think I said Anderson for last night, which doubled my points. Mark, you've also managed to do that, which jumped you up from 130 to 260. Added up with all your other points and what have you, gives you a total of 520. Time for this week's predictions. Then we'll go very, very quickly for. Let's go down the panel actually. Would you rather say your team selections now on the podcast for everyone to hear it, or would you rather just do the scores and goal scorers and then send me your team selections privately? Nathan, what would you rather do?
I don't really know. I say name it, because the fact that against Crewe I had to name mine first, and so I was at a disadvantage there. So
I'm not going to argue with that logic actually.
Yeah,
that's fair logic.
Yeah.
Right, this week then, because I'm at the lead, whoever's at the top of the leaderboard each week will go first, naming their prediction, goal scorers.
That's me last every week then.
We can all change. All you need to do is get the captain right and you double your points. So, Mansfield Town 3, Forest Green Rovers 0. Goal scorers 2 for Danny Rose and 1 for Christian Pearce. Lineup I'm going to go for Olejnik, White, Pearce, Diamonds, Benning, Atkinson, Digby, Byram and Anderson in midfield. Up front I'm going to go for Rose and Angle, and captaincy I'm going to give it to Anderson once again. 2nd place in the table is Mark.
I'll go 2-0 Stags, Angle to score and Anderson. Starting lineup, Olejnik in goal, defence, Benning, Diamond, Pearce, White, midfield, Anderson, Mellis, Digby, and
It's tough, isn't it, on the spot?
it is really. I'm going to say Sterling James and Angle and Rose up front.
Oh, interesting. It's Sterling James maybe as a winger. There's a potential for a 3 there. Nathan, obviously you're third.
Yep, so I'm going to go 3-1 to Stags. Goal scorers Danny Rose, Leanne Goal and Omari Sterling James. For the start 11, I'm going to go for Olejnik.
Not editing this, by the way. That's staying in.
Sounds like having a light, doesn't it? So Olejnik in goal. Left back Benning. I'm going to go Diamond in the middle with. I'm going to go with Murphin. And but no, not Murphin. I'm going to put Bennett. And right back White. And then for midfield Anderson, Mellis, Digby and Atkinson, and up front I'm going to go for Danny Rose and Sterling James.
And to double your points for the captain.
I've not done very well with this so far, but I'm going to go Anderson.
Okay, Cam, last but by no means least.
Right, Olejnik in goal. I'm going to go right back with Hayden White, centre, Pearce and Diamond. Left back, Johnny Hunt. Mid, I'm going to go Digby, Byram, Hamilton and Anderson. And then up front, I'm going to go Rose and Angle.
And the skipper.
Skipper, Diamond.
Okie dokie. Right. So did you go for goal scorers? Did you give me the goal scorers?
I've not given the score yet.
Okay.
Score 3-0.
So you've done it the opposite way to everybody else. Talk about muck up the system.
I agree. Anyway.
So it's in the script. Carry on.
Anyway. Score 3-0 Stags. Hunt to score. Hamilton and Rose.
Fair play. Well, we shall find out how we do on that next week as we bring you the Prediction League. If you want to get involved, by the way, on that, tweet us at MTFC Matters, get in touch with one of us or whatever, or you can email us mtfcmatters@gmail.com. Right, let's wrap things up. Connection question at the very start of the podcast. I asked you which thrice Mansfield Town defender captained Forest Green Rovers on the opening day of the 2010-11 season against the Stags at the One Call Stadium after being surprisingly released by then manager David Holdsworth, returning 2 seasons later to help us on the way to the conference title. Cam, you saw the answer. Nathan, you weren't. Were you sure?
I forgot who I was thinking. I had an idea and I completely forgot.
Yes.
If you were to stick a name on it.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, Mark.
I'm going to guess. Got Luke Jones in the head.
Cam, you've seen it.
Well,
would you have said?
Jonah.
Yeah, indeed, the answer was Luke Jones. Congratulations if you were playing along at home. Another connection question next week in the podcast. Before we wrap things up, and I do that spiel about the end and we play some nice music and it all fades out and we all go home. If we can get out of this park, by the way, it's gone very, very quiet. We're the only ones in here and I'm thinking that I might be locked in the car park. If we are, SOS, more other puns there for you people. Right, come up with a name for the podcast. Last week was Raindrops and Teacups. What would you go for this week? Any particular thing which has stood out for you?
Sunshine and something, I don't know.
Oh, you lot are used to
Sunshine. I'm going to say Sunshine and Benches, but that's too much.
Sunshine and Benches. Gonna grab the listeners in that. Nathan, save the day, please.
We spoke about the bad winds coming, so I think something playing on that.
Okay. See if I can come up with something which is sort of wintry and Abbery puns. We'll go for that.
Yeah, come on. Creative brain.
Anyway, that is just about it for this week's podcast. If, by the way, this is now cut away to a still image of me, Mark, Cam and Nathan sat at the bench, it's because the camera died with about 2 minutes to go. We also had some recording problems halfway through on one of our recorders, so this week's podcast might be technical problems, bandstands and sunshine and dodgy sunglasses, and of course the evolution of beard. If the camera's cut off, hopefully I'll try and do some clever cutaway to zoom into each other's faces. As you go along, I've noticed as you go along this bench today, as you looked at it obviously on your screens, we've got Nathan, who is nice and clean shaven. We've got Cam, who's got some 12-year-old stubble. We've got me going for the Paul Anderson look, and we've got Mark full-on beard. The evolution of beard.
It's like we planned it.
It is indeed. It's like the evolution of man, but only I from the top of the tree.
Wow.
The evolution of beard, ABBA puns and park benches. This has been the Mansfield Matters podcast. Get involved on Twitter at MTFC Matters. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield Matters. From me, Craig Priest, from Mark Plum, from Cam Felton and from Nathan Edge, who we wish all the very best playing for England abroad, and who won't be with us for the next couple of weeks as he goes to make his proper England debut and represent the country at Blind Football. Wish you all the very best of luck, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
From all four of us here in Carbank Park. Until next week, thank you very much for listening, for watching, if indeed you still are. Good night, goodbye, whatever, farewell, see you later. Oh, we're going to end this thing, I need a better ending than that. I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll go up down the line and everyone can say their word of goodbye, and we'll wrap it up from there.
Come on, you stags.
See ya.
Up the Stags. See you next week. Thanks very much. Goodbye.